Let's tackle the various infrastructure types of wireless networks. When we have a Wi-Fi network, it can be in one of two modes, ad hoc mode or infrastructure mode. Now, there are two versions of infrastructure mode, so we'll deal with both of those separately. In ad hoc mode, we also call this a peer-to-peer network. There is no central device. Each of the computers just talks to each other. The nice thing about this is, of course, that it's cheap. You don't have to have a central device. But the downside is that these all have to be close enough together to be able to talk to each other. Now, when we have an ad hoc mode or a peer-to-peer network like this, we have a name for this set of devices that makes up this network. It's the Independent Basic Service Set, also known as IBSS. Now, each device that is in this network is assigned an IBSS ID. In other words, IBSS identifier. So each of these computers here is assigned one of those IBSS IDs. It's just a pseudo-random number assigned by the software when it detects that there's an ad hoc network going on. Next, we have the infrastructure, the first of the infrastructure modes, and that is, again, the network type here could be called infrastructure. It could also be called basic service set. So this collection of devices is a basic service set. The thing that makes it distinguishable is that there is one, but only one central device. Now that central device establishes something called the SSID, or Service Set Identifier, which is the name of this network. And each of these computers has to join that SSID. Just like when you walk into McDonald's with your phone, you have to select the SSID, or the name of the network. And then if there's a password, you would have to supply that password. The network itself now, this collection of devices like this, with a single central device, is not an IBSS, but a BSS, or a Basic Service Set. So whenever you see Basic Service Set, you're talking about an infrastructure mode with only one central device. There is an identifier here, and that is the BSSID, which is the MAC address of this central device. This is usually a wireless router. By the way, the nice thing about these infrastructure modes is that, let's say that these two computers were too far away from each other to talk to each other, but each one could talk to the central device, and the central device can relay them. Even if we had something that blocked communication here, called the hidden node problem, by the way, where these computers can't see each other, can't hear each other talk, they can still talk through the central device. Finally, we have the other infrastructure mode, which is the extended service set. And in this case, we don't have a central device, we have a bunch of central devices. This is typical in the workplace, where you've got a whole bunch of wireless access points. In this other case back here, you had a wireless router. These are wireless access points, and all they do is tie all of these computers into a wired network. Again, the SSID is established by the network itself, and all of the computers have to join that SSID. However, this collection of devices is now called an extended service set, and each central device now has an ESSID, which is usually just the same as the SSID. In other words, the name of the network. That's a lot. There's SSID. Let's see, let's go back here. SSID, IBSS, IBSSID, BSS, BSSID, ESS, and ESSID. Wow, that can be really intimidating. I've put it all in a nice chart for you here. The network type, again, there are really only two, but the infrastructure type is divided into two subtypes. The ad hoc, computer to computer, infrastructure, one central device, and infrastructure with multiple central devices. The ad hoc network type is also known as an IBSS. The infrastructure with one central device is also known as a BSS. Infrastructure device with multiple central devices is called an ESS. As far as the identifiers of the various things, first of all, the entire network has an identifier when it's an infrastructure. Now, it's not true in an ad hoc because there is no network name. There is no central identification for this network. So the SSID fills the role of the infrastructure mode's network name. And you have to join, each computer has to join that SSID, that network. Now the central devices, in infrastructure mode, the central device itself has an identifier, the MAC address for the basic service set, and the network name is also the identifier for the ESSID. So it's the same as the SSID. And finally, in ad hoc mode, each computer has to have its own identifier, which is called the IBSSID, and it's just a pseudo-random number. It's a lot to remember. It's difficult to remember, but it's important that you have these things straightened out before you take your MTA.